wanted to talk today a little bit more about a post that I had been working on and sharing a little bit on Instagram, and this was about the phrase "good job." So if you're a parent or an early childhood educator or somebody who spends lots of time with children and you find yourself saying "good job" a lot, you might want to watch this video to reconsider 2 reasons why it's not the best phrase to use. Some of the people who messaged me after I posted this on Instagram were not super pleased. They felt that this was making them feel guilty or ashamed about the way they were interacting with their children, and that's not my intention. My intention is really to just give you guys some things to think about so that when you do interact with your children, you can interact with ways that is respectful and positive and uplifting and is able to build the relationship that the 2 of you have. We're looking for ways to really support and affirm the children so that they can feel seen and heard and known and loved and cared for. Good job is one of those phrases that you hear all the time. It doesn't matter whether you're at the store or the park or you have friends over for dinner or you go over to somebody else's house. You'll probably hear "good job" said to a child at least once in an average interaction. I think that there are 2 compelling reasons why parents might want to reconsider "good job" and try to reduce it from their vocabulary. So the first reason I think that "good job" is a problem is that it actually leads to more disconnection. The problem is that it's such a broad phrase that it almost feels like you're not actually acknowledging the child at all. You're just throwing out a blanket statement and hoping that it'll stick. For example, recently I was at Costco and there was a parent and a child and they had just gotten samples from the sample table. And now the parent was looking in the fridge section, she was looking at yogurt, I don't know, cheese, something in there, and the child comes over to mom and says, "Hey mom, I threw out my sample cup." The child here was making a vie for connection, and this parent, obviously very distracted, still looking in the still looking in the fridge, goes, "Good job," and that's it. And I was standing right beside this child looking in the next fridge section, and I could see her face just dropped. It fell. She was excited to tell her mom something, and the response that she got was not what she was hoping for, and it led to her feeling disconnected from her mom. So I know this is not what the mom was intending, and I know that some of you might say, well, it's not that big of a deal, and this child shouldn't have been that disappointed. The mom still did connect with her. But the thing is, in this moment, that phrase didn't mean anything because the child could 100% see that mom was distracted. In this moment, it was like the mom was focused on something and gave the child a tiny piece, and it was kind of like a pat on the back, like, "Okay, I'm not interested in you right now, leave me alone," and that's what the child felt. Children aren't looking for rewards, they're looking for connection. So I know this can be difficult, especially when you're distracted, but I think it's important to either do one of 2 things. 1, you can stop what you're doing and give your child your full undivided attention and then return to what you're doing. Or 2, you could continue what you're doing and then, when you're finished that, give your child your full undivided attention. So what this might look like is the mom, instead of saying "good job," saying, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you and you can tell me about what just happened. I'm going to pick out the yogurt first." So now she's set a clear boundary. I'm going to do this first. Now this way, it's a little bit more work for the mom, but now this way the child knows that the parent still wants to be connected with them. So the first problem with "good job" is that I think it can actually lead to more disconnection when that's definitely not what the parents are intending. The second problem, I think, is that it leads to misconnection. When we say "good job" to children, what we're doing is we're often just praising them for their accomplishments or praising them for something that we've done. So this creates dependence on praise and external motivation for satisfaction and rewards rather than internal motivation. The problem with misconnection is that it's now taking the child's ability for self-satisfaction and putting it on the parent, for the parent to give the child praise and external motivation rather than internal motivation for a child. Think about a baby who is just learning how to walk. They've taken their first steps, or maybe they're even for like the very first time. They're holding onto the couch and they're letting go and they're taking a very cautious but very focused first step, and suddenly, all of a sudden, their concentration is broken by a round of applause and good job! You did it! Now, in this moment, what is that actually doing for that child? A child isn't learning how to walk so that they will receive praise. A child is learning how to walk because they're naturally compelled and motivated, and they have to do it. They have to walk when they're ready to walk. They're not doing it for you. This is the same with a child who is playing, maybe an older child, a preschooler who's playing with something and they've figured out how to do a tricky puzzle, or they're stacking a block tower really high, and they're focused and concentrated, and all of a sudden it's met with, good job, wow, you did it, you built such a big tower. Now sometimes encouragement like that is welcomed, but often what happens is now it's taken the child's focus from what they were doing and puts it on the parent. And now the parent is the one who is causing the child to feel that satisfaction rather than basically the satisfaction of a job well done. So children don't do these things. They don't learn how to walk, they don't play, they don't dig in the dirt for our approval. They do it because they're motivated and because it's fun and they want to do it. But what happens is when we're constantly enforcing these actions with good job is they learn to be dependent on our praise. And this can actually be a problem further down as they grow and they get older and that praise doesn't happen. They might do something and go, oh, well, I didn't get rewarded for it. And you see children stop trying because they're not being met with the praise that they've been conditioned to receive. It's important to remember that our children are so dependent on us, especially our young ones. They need us for food, they need us for transportation, they need us to change their diapers and keep them clean. They don't need us to give them external motivation at such a young age. What they do need is for us to help foster and facilitate an inner sense of self-satisfaction and internal motivation. In her book, Your Self-Confident Baby, Magda Gerber has this really interesting paragraph on good job. I'm going to read it for you. If you say good girl, good boy, or good job to your child, what happens if she can't perform a certain task? Doesn't this subtly tell her she's bad? The words good and bad connote a moral judgment. This also encourages a performer mentality. So what do you do if you're a parent and you want to support your child and you don't want that disconnection from a half-hearted, not fully given attention, good job, and you don't want that misconnection from an unnecessary good job that creates dependence on you rather than internal satisfaction? This is where I think it's really important to practice speaking to your children respectfully and to really use just basic everyday language as if you were talking to another adult. I know it seems a little bit strange, but to think about your child as if they're an adult, how would you talk to your neighbor? How would you talk to your friend? You're not going to go outside and applaud your neighbors on garbage day when they put their garbage out. You're not going to say, yay, you got your garbage out, good job. So think about how you might want them to be interacted with if they weren't your child. We can still be genuine and encouraging without saying this phrase. Say, for example, that child who's building a block tower. You could say, wow, you are working really hard on that tower. It's taller than you. I see your face and you look so proud of what you've done. Basically, you're just acknowledging what's going on without overemphasizing, without overhyping the situation. And we don't have to say good job and praise a child for every little thing. Magda goes on in the book to talk about what you can do when a child does something really difficult, like waiting for something that they're excited about. She says, reflecting neither entails praise nor criticism, rather it acknowledges, informs, and illuminates. This is how a child learns, by starting to understand connections between things. Simple phrases, expressions of feelings. Reflection does not teach or preach, it is a statement of support that allows your child to learn. So think about when you tell a child what's going on, it helps give them a bigger picture of the situation. So an infant who's just learning how to walk and then is surprised or scared when they fall, your statement of, wow, that looked like it surprised you. That helps them connect their emotions and their body and their situation and really gives them a bigger picture of what's going on. this is where, again, I think good job is just, it's too big. It doesn't help connect the pieces of what's happened. Ultimately, my hope for this video is that it gives you some things to think about in the way that you're using your words and connecting with your children, and to maybe consider saying good job less and trying to give more affirming or factual statements about what's going on. So I hope that this was helpful for you. If it was, you can leave a comment here, or you can find some more posts about this on Instagram. Talk with you later.